So our topic for this chapter naman is titled Emotional Interaction. So based from the title itself, we're going to analyze the different or varying emotions that we have and how we apply it with designing an interactive system or software. Now, the overview again are the list of objectives. So I'll just read this one. Emotions and the user experience. Expressive and emotional design. How the appearance of an interface can affect the users. Affective computing and emotional AI. So we also have class what we known as emotional AI. Also persuasive technologies and behavioral change. Anthromorphism, the pros and the cons on that. So let us first explore the emotion. What are the emotions that we have and how it affects our user experience? So HCI has traditionally been about designing efficient and effective systems. Now, more about how to design interactive systems that make people respond in certain ways. For example, to be happy, to be trusting, to learn, or to be motivated. Emotional interaction is concerned with how we feel and react with interacting with technologies. Affective computing is improving with better recognition software and machine learning algorithms. So emotional interaction, what makes us happy? Sad, annoyed, anxious, frustrated, motivated, delirious, and so on. Translating this into different aspects of the user's experience. Why people become emotionally attached to certain products, for instance, virtual pets. Can social robots help reduce loneliness and improve well-being? How to change human behavior through the use of emotive feedback. So, what we're going to tackle now is how different systems and softwares tries to imitate or try to get an insight or how they try to play with the user's emotions through the use of icons or through the use of different elements. So, activity. Now, this is just parang exercise lang siya to assess or as an assessment. Now, I'll just read this one. So, try to remember the emotions you went through when buying a big ticket item online. For example, a refrigerator, a vacation, or a computer. How different emotions did you go through? So, the same class with using different systems. So, why has this simple way of obtaining visitor feedback so been effective? So, how was your fast track security experience today? You just have to choose which of the emoticon and then it will you're most likely to feel using that product. So, our topic for today is titled Emotional Interaction. So, for our overview, we're going to look into the different emotions of different individuals and how it affects their user experience using an HCI product. What are the expressive and what are the emotional designs? How the appearance of an interface can affect users. So, it refers to the design of a software or an application. So, how effective computing and emotional AI is being applied to different softwares and systems. And what is emotional AI? And also persuasive technologies and behavioral change. And the last one would be anthropomorphism. What is the good and the bad side of it? So, emotions and the user. So, HCI has traditionally been about designing efficient and effective systems. Now, more about how to design interactive systems that make people respond in certain ways. For example, to be happy, to be trusting, to learn, or to be more motivated. Now, actually, it depends on the type of system or software that you have. Emotional interaction is concerned with how we feel and react with interacting with technologies. Affective computing is improving with better recognition software and machine learning algorithms. So later on, we'll discuss about affective computing and emotional AI. So emotional interaction, and it tackles what makes an individual or a person happy, sad, annoyed, anxious, frustrated, motivated, delirious, and other different types of emotions. So why people become emotionally attached to certain products, for example, virtual pets. So how do we design products that will make our clients, it answers the questions, how do we design our products that will make our client happy every time that they use it? How do we going to design products that make our client wanna use it? Or how we're going to design a product, a software, or a system, or any part of any particular type of platform that will make our users want to use it or enjoyable to use, na babalik-balikan nila. So, yun yung kadalasan na sagot na or mga questions being asked first when designing a product that we want to be successful. So, most of the social networking sites, they offer entertainment. Kasi they want to get the emotion of people na ano yung mga dapat balik-balikan. So, it's not just for entertainment, it also provides educational. So, we are presented with different emotions using a single platform. So, like for example, this type of kiosk, it was trying to ask how you are feeling with the particular product or software by just pressing the emoji that best represents your feeling. Ayan. Or yung yung nafe-feel mo nung time na yon doon sa fast track security nila. So example naman, if you are creating a website na for charity or a non-profit organization na kailangan mong makagather ng pondo or para makatulong, you design the website in a particular way that will show or will give a person a sense of parang empathy or parang a sense na parang malungkot or mainganyo silang tumulong. So, emotion has to do with that. So, sabi nga nila, do not decide based on your emotion sometimes. Because if you're too happy, you might decide too hastily. If you are too sad, you might also decide too hastily then. So, you might regret it later. Decide when your feelings are talagang sorted na. So, ganun din yung website. They try to play with our feelings. Sometimes we are we're just unconsciously aware of it. So, how easy it is to design an interface to match or change how we are feeling? Should an interface be designed to improve how we feel? If so, how? Our moods and feelings are continuously changing. How does the interface keep track and know when to do something? What moods match which kinds of interfaces? How would you design an interface for when someone is happy, angry, sad, bored, or focused? So, how do emotions affect behavior and behavior emotions? Examine how people express themselves and read each other. So, we have emotional intelligence. Sabi nila, kasabihan lang to class ng iba, majority, based on the conversations that I have with other people. Sabi nila, hindi ako more on IQ kasi ako ako sa emotional quotients. So, mas matalino daw siya when it comes to interacting or assessing his or her personal emotions. Pero meron sabi nila, I'm more on sa IQ, pero hindi ako magaling when it comes to emotional quotients. Ayan. So, sabi nila, yon. So, yun nga yun, it depends on how we react on different things. For example, understanding relationship between facial expressions, body language, gestures, and tone of voice. So, if we are interacting with other people in real life, so sometimes, parehas tayo nagigets natin yung kanilang gesture or yung ini-implement nila na idea. Pero there would be times that we misunderstood it, kasi maaring di sila magaling mag-express ng kanilang idea or tayo yung hindi magaling bumasa nung gesture or nung idea dun sa context na sinasabi sa atin. So does being angry make you concentrate better or more distracted? When you are happy, do you take more risks such as spend more money or buy more? Ayan. So, yung mga factors na yan, pinag-aaralan yan, especially yung mga web-based applications or apps para makuha nila yung attention ng users. For example, si Lazada, si Shopee, they give you discounts. They present you with other deals daw, kunwari. Just parang pagka sinakita mo yun, if you're happy, parang nagandahan ka, ay, nakaka-light naman to ng mood, ang daming mga promo. Parang ang gusto kong bumili agad. So, nagkakaroon ka ng parang haste decision na, sige, makabili na. Kasi napapasaya ako nun, sabing ganon. So, yon. For example, nakaka-frustrate gamitin tong system na to. So, you can think straight, lalong hindi mo siya magagamit agad. So, that's how emotion takes part on how we behave in a particular system or product. So, Baumeister in 2007 argued that the relationship is more complex than a single cause and effect. So, it seems na parang cause and effect yung pag ganito yung behavior mo, ay pag ganito yung emotion mo, magiging ganito yung behavior mo. Pero, it's more complex than that daw, according to studies. So, we have automatic affect versus conscious emotion. So, let us just analyze this one. Emotions can be short-lived. For instance, a fit of anger, a complex and long-lasting, for example, jealousy. So, there are emotions that are short-lived and there are emotions that tend to last longer than we intended them to. For example, yung pagkagalit. Hindi naman, minsan, nawawalay galit humuhupa, yung talagang galit na spur of the moment na bigla ka na nagalit na ganyan. Pero minsan naman, merong mga emotions na matagal talaga. Pag nakikita mo yung babae na yun or yung lalaki na yun, parang lagi ka na lang nagseselos sa kanya or for the longest time, lagi mo siyang pinagseselosan. Then that is an example of a complex and long-lasting emotions. Though it differs from different people na, hindi naman ako selosa, saglit lang akong magselos. Pero some emotions, depending on the people, they tend to last longer. O yan, depending on how they cope. So, emotions have been categorized as automatic or conscious. Automatic ones class, automatic emotions are rapid and dissipate quickly. So, hindi sila matagal. Saglit lang sila. For a span of time lang sila nag-i-stay. When we say conscious ones, they develop slowly and take a long time to go. For instance, reflection. Nag-reflect ka na, bakit kaya ako laging ginagawa ginagago nito? Yung parang yung inis mo, nagtatagal siya. So, pag nakikita mo yung tao na yun, lagi kang, nandun pa rin yung inis mo for longest period of time. Yun yung conscious ones. So, parang nagde-develop siya over time or nandun pa rin siya at the back of your mind. So, again, pag sinabi nating automatic, saglit lang yung emotion na yun. Pag sinabi nating conscious, matagal siya. So, people or developers take advantage on knowing automatic emotion and conscious emotion. Because of that, they know how to design a product that will get the attention of the users. So we have here the model of emotional design. So how it affects sensory and our motor skills. So claims from model, our emotional state changes how we think. When frightened or angry, we focus narrowly on our body, respond by tensing muscles and sweating. When happy, we are less focused and our body tends to relax. We are more likely to overlook minor problems and be more creative. Designing with the 3 levels in mind. So based on the illustration presented previously, we have 3 levels in mind. We have visceral design, behavioral design, and reflective design. So going back to the illustration presented earlier, so we have reflective, behavioral, and visceral. Now we're going to discuss each of these models. So designing the 3 levels in mind. In designing a product, so we need to consider the visceral aspects, the behavioral, and the reflective. But first, we need to analyze or know what are those. So when we say visceral, it refers to making products look, feel, and sound good. So it refers to the aesthetics. And when we say behavioral, the design is about use and it equates with traditional values of usability. So it refers on its usage. Ayan. When we say reflective design naman, it is about considering the meaning and personal value of a product. So that is reflective design. Now these three levels of designing in mind under behavior or emotional aspects, under emotional aspects correction class, is applied to different types of interaction design, not just with IT-related systems or softwares. And we have different examples in which we're going to analyze saan yung visceral aspects ng design na yon, saan yung behavioral aspect, and saan yung reflective na aspect. So, first example would be analyzing a swatch watch design using a model. Now, cultural images and graphical elements designed at the reflective level. Affordances of use at the behavioral level and brilliant colors and well-designed attract users' attention at the visceral level. Now, saan pumapasok naman yung reflective level? Now, the cultural images and graphical elements like the colorful neon, parang it signifies the 90s or the parang hip tradition. So, yung cultural niyan, yun yung cultural bearing niyan, pumapasok siya sa reflective level. Next naman is yung affordances of use. So, napaka-useful niya. It is a watch. We use it for different, of knowing the time. We use it for a lot of, it is for utilizing, we utilize it for different functions. Ayan. So, yung affordances niya, yun yung behavioral level niya. And yun namang the use of brilliant colors, well-designed to attract the user's attention, that would be the visceral level. So, yun yung overall aesthetics niya or yung harmony nung colors or nung designs, paano siya nagpa-pop or nagko-complement with each other, that will be the visceral level. Kasi sabi natin, visceral refers to the overall look of a product. Yun namang reflective level, pinagkaiba ng visceral and reflective level, though they both focus on the color and the combinations of the elements of the design, iba yung perspective nitong dalawa na to. Pag sinabi natin cultural level, like this one, tinignan niya to into a cultural aspect. Like, this type of design were mostly used in the 80s or in the 90s. Yun yung parang, yung lagi natin matatandaan yung parang yung mga hip or yung hippies na culture nung during those timelines. So yung cultural images dito, yun yung pumasok doon, yung reflective level. Next naman is we have expressive interfaces. Before we move on with other examples, let us first discuss what is expressive interfaces. Providing reassuring feedback that can be both informative and fun, can also be intrusive, however, causing people to become annoyed and even angry. Color icons, sounds, and graphical elements and animations are used to make the look and feel of an interface appealing. It conveys an emotional state. In turn, this can affect the usability of an interface. People are prepared to put up with certain aspects of an interface. For instance, a slow download rate if the end result is appealing and aesthetic. So, yun yung example or meaning ng expressive interfaces. Now, the appearance of an interface. So, the appearance of interface had gradually changes from it has its own set of setbacks before mabago yung kanilang interface. For example, emotional icons were used in the in the 1980s rather, to indicate rebooting of a crashed computer. Like for example, a smiling apple face. Ayan. So, yung illustration A class, it indicates the situation that your computer is dealing with. However, nowadays, computers use more impersonal but aesthetically pleasing icons to indicate that the user needs to wait. So, we no longer use parang emotional icons. Parang na siya, it uses minimalist aesthetics para i-indicate yung idea or i-convey yung nangyayari dun sa computer mo. Another example would be like the comparison, the design of the old Nest thermostat versus the new thermostat. Now, basically, ang pinakamagandang design would be illustration A because it has a minimalist and aesthetically pleasing design. It has a round face and simple dial and large fonts and number. So, para mas madaling gamitin yung nasa illustration A, though they are of the same manufacturer, unlike dun sa design be? It is very different from earlier thermostat design. Most of them are utilitarian and dull. So, napaka-dull ng mga icons, ang dami pinipindot. Parang pag una po palang nakita, di mo alam kung paano siya gamitin. Parang ang hirap gamitin ito kumpara dun sa isa. So, yun yung tinanggal nila, yung intimidating, yung parang nakaka-intimidate na feel pag ginagamit natin yung thermostat. Next is annoying interfaces. So, Microsoft pioneered friendly interfaces for technophobes. For example, at home with Bob software. 3D metaphors used on familiar places, for instance, living rooms. Agents and guise of pets such as bunny or dog were included to the talk of the users. It made users feel more at ease and comfortable. But many people did not like the idea of Bob, so it never made it as a product. If you could not remember it, but in the older versions of Microsoft operating system, we have AI assistants like Bob and Clippy and Merlin. So this is Bob. So this is a virtual dog that assists us with our different inquiries. So it was in the early 2000s, yung mga earlier versions ng Windows. Windows 2007, ayan. So meron silang mga ganitong interactive interfaces. Pero ngayon wala na sila, na-phase out na sila sa mga newer versions ng operating system ni Microsoft. Kasi parang hindi na sila tinatangkilik ng mga users. We also have Microsoft's Clippy and IKEA. So, si Clippy yung binabanggit ko earlier. So, siya yung parang AI assistant. So, pagka meron kang inquiries, ayan, siya yung nagtatanong. So, Clippy did, but was disliked by so many. Was it annoying, distracting, patronizing, or other? So, technically, personally, I have encountered Clippy or Bob, yung mga ganong interface ng older versions ng Windows. And medyo parang di ako ganong satisfied dun sa assistance na ginagawa nila. Siguro kaya sila tinanggal ni Microsoft. So, si IKEA, meron din silang chatbot. Like, for example, Anna appeared as a virtual agent. Blink, move her lips, and head to suggest facial expressions. So, parehas sila na 2D AI assistant sa mga different operating systems and platforms. Now, pero meron silang parang mga intimidating side to them kasi designers during the trial and error pa lang sila nun sa pagde-design ng mga interfaces na magana ng emosyon ng tao. Naging akala nila pag mas makulay or may cartoon, mas atangkilikin. Pero in some platforms like Microsoft, ayan, nakita nila hindi nag-workout gano. So, kaya tinanggal na nila or pinace out nila yung mga ganito. Kagaya ni Illustration A, si Clippy. So, frustrating interfaces. Many causes would be when an application doesn't work properly or crashes. It's very frustrating. Common naman yon. When a system doesn't do what the user wants it to do, when a user expectations are not met. So, these are just the examples of scenarios on how interfaces could give us frustration or emotion of anger, annoyance, and pagka-frustrate because of these reasons na na-encounter natin when using the system or interface. So, next is we're going to the other component, which is about error messages. Now, error messages, the application word, I'll just read the examples. The application word wonder has unexpectedly quit due to a type 2 error. Why not instead the application has unexpectedly quit due to poor coding in the operation system? So which do you think is more formal or more appropriate to use? So according to Schneiderman's classic guidelines for error messages include avoid using the terms like fatal, invalid, or bad. So, do not even when creating business letters or formal letters, you avoid the use of negative words. You try to use words that does not indicate negative things, pero hindi ganun kaganda yung kino-convey. Kung baka pinagaganda natin yung the way we convey messages. Also, you must avoid audio warnings, avoid uppercase and long code numbers. Message should be precise rather than vague and provide context-sensitive help. So, it must also be straight to the point, but we should not straight to the point siya, pero wag tayong gagamit ng mga too negative words like fatal, invalid, or bad. So, that is one of the examples on how to get our ano. Kasi minsan, nagkaka-error na nga, tapos marireceive pa natin annoying na message. So, lalong madadagdagan yung pagkainis natin dun sa interface. So, a friendly, cute image. Examples of a remedy that we can use in presenting an error message would be the use of a friendly, cute image instead of the impersonal 4014 error message. World's largest index of useless website. We are looking for your page but we cannot find it. Ayan. So, medyo to lessen or to lighten the mood a little bit. Though it will not resolve your problems easily, but it will enlighten your mood. So, dilemma, should computers say sorry? Reeves and Nass argue that computers should be made to apologize. They should also emulate human etiquette. Would users be forgiving of computers saying they're sorry as people are of each other when they're sorry? How sincere would you think the computer was being, for example, a system crash? I'm really sorry I crashed. I'll try not to do it again. How else should computers communicate with users? So these are just dilemmas. This will be presented as an activity or in the form of case studies for you to answer. So the instructions, kindly wait, it will be posted on our Google Classroom. Now these are just dilemma or your own you have to conduct research in regards to this on if computers should be more polite, just like how people would say sorry, or wag masyado kasi they're just computers. Ayan. Or another dilemma would be, should voice assistant teach kids good manners? So, the last part naman, class, would be affective computing and emotional AI. Affective computing, kagaya nung nabanggit natin kanina, is concerned with how to use computers to recognize and express emotions as humans do, like Picard in 1998, according to Picard. It involved designing ways for people to communicate their emotional state. It uses sensing technologies to measure GSR, facial expressions, gestures, and body movement. It explores how affect influences personal health. So that is affective computing. Emotional AI, on the other hand, aims to automate the measurement of feelings and behavior using AI to infer them from facial expressions and voice. The goal is to predict the user's emotions and aspects of their behavior. Example, what is someone most likely to buy online when being sad, bored, or happy? So, affective computing and emotional AI, we often use it. Si Facebook, personally, meron siyang tinatawag na emotional AI din. Pagka nag-type ka ng status mo, and then, nakapag-compose ka na, natapos mo na, magbibigay siya ng suggestion kung paano niya na-perceive yung image mo. So, parang, yung pinost mo. Or yung idea ng pinost mo or tinype mo dun sa status. So, pwedeng informative, happy, pwedeng depressive, ayan. So, para nagbibigay lang siya ng, ng suggestion na ganito yung tone na ini-indicate nung post mo. So, agree ka ba na depressive yung post mo? If not, you may off to change it. So, parang ganun yung silent na inaano ni Facebook. So, there are, or social network or social media platforms, they also make use of emotional AI in simpler ways like that. So, they read your, the emotion that you're trying to convey, and then they give suggestions on what type of emotion yung lumalabas base dun sa tono ng pagkakasulat mo or maaaring ma-interpret ng iba. So, that is an example of emotional AI. Pag sinabi naman nating affective computing, it refers to sensor technologies. Kasi meron tayong tinatawag class na biometrics, right? Like, yung the use of fingerprints, the use of iris sensor. So, now we also have affective computing combined with emotional AI that when they see your facial expression, they will know what you are feeling. If they will just combine it with other facial expressions that they have in their database, and then they know what, ma-assess nila na, itong naka-frown na to, sabihin sad, angry, ayan, ganyan. So, kasi meron tayong class tinatawag na machine learning na isa sa characteristics ng ating computer ngayon. And then, meron tayong tinatawag na TensorFlow. Kasi yung mga technologies natin ngayong class, they were able to detect na, for example, yung picture mo, this is a cat. So, kaya nga si Facebook, meron silang, this is a person smiling outdoor. So, meron silang way para makapagdagdag ng alt text. Kasi, nade-determine na ngayon ng computer, meron na silang, ngayon, na nade-determine nila kung anong type yung image or nare-recognize si computer kung anong type ng image yung in-upload mo based on, by comparing it with a database inside of them. And that is what we call machine learning. The computer learns over time because of the inputs that we add on the internet. So, techniques used. There were cameras for measuring facial expression. So, it exists, class, and it will determine what you are feeling based on your facial expressions nga lang. Meron naman kasi ibang tao, natural na itsura nila, grumpy, or natural na masaya yung, mukhang masaya itsura nila, pero hindi naman pala. So, yun dun lang nagkakaroon ng inaccuracy. Biosensors placed on fingers or palms to measure GSR. So, meron ding biosensors. Affective expression in speech, for example, intonation, speech, and loudness. So, the way we talk, sometimes other types of devices can now detect based on how you talk, what you are feeling. So, body movement, gestures using accelerometers and motion capture systems. So, those are just some of the products or interactive softwares and products that we have used for measuring the emotion or overall emotions of a person. So, classifications of emotions. So, we have 6 core expressions typically measured. First is sadness, disgust, fear, anger, contempt, and joy. So, does it remind you of the that particular Disney movie? I forgot the title. So, the type of facial expression chosen by AR through detecting presence of absence of smiling, eye widening, brown racing, just like the example, ayan. So, that is an example class called, this one, facial coding, is made possible through the use of AFDEX software. So, dito na pumapasok yung sinasabi natin na yung emotional AI and affective commuting. Ayan. Through the use of facial expression, we could, the computer or the operating systems of the application or the application itself makes assumptions on a person's emotion level or type of emotion that he or she displays using just by analyzing or using the algorithm that detects the expression that you are having. How is this emotional data used? If the user screws off their face when an ad pops, it feels disgust. If the user starts smiling, they are feeling happy. Website can adapt its ad, movie storyline, or content to match the user's emotional state. Plus, you might not be aware of, but the ads you are receiving are just, sometimes they tend to relate with what you just have browsed. Kasi si Google, they keep tabs of the things that you browsed online, and then they set it as your preference. Though you can off to delete it and edit your preferences, pero sometimes it comes automatically if you are not aware that you have settings like that with Google. The same goes with using Facebook. So, kunyari, you just visited different sa Shopee. So, makikita nyo pagka may advertisement ng Shopee or Lazada, yung mga ina-advertise sa'yo is parang yung mga similar products lang na lagi mo sinesearch pag nado ka sa Shopee or Lazada. So, that's how people or developers make use of emotional AIs also. They also apply it with ads. Kasi dati yung ads, they just randomly pop up na lang na hindi naman related or something that you are not interested. Now, they have, or developers have found more ways to add ads that you might be interested kasi you have searched it by yourself. Though there are still some ads na hindi naman talaga natin sinearch pero nagpa-pop up. Example, you're just browsing through Kiss Asian or other similar websites like that. They tend to present ads that are totally not related with our preference or we really not in any way have or possibly searched before. So we also have eye tracking, finger pulse, speech, and word phrases also analyzed when tweeting or posting to Twitter. So yun nga kasasabi ko lang kanina na example. For example, nagta-type ka ng post or status. So si Twitter nagsasuggest na siya agad na yung post mo, it indicates contentment or informative. Ayan. So they automatically or they try to suggest the feeling that you are trying to convey based on the status that you have typed. So we also have indirect emotion detection, also used more to infer or predict someone's behavior. For instance, determining a person's suitability for a job or how they will vote in an election. So we use analytics. So, do you think it is ethical that technology can read your emotions from your facial expressions or from your tweets? Ayan. So, persuasive technologies and behavioral change. So, in the topic of persuasive technologies and behavioral change, so how people or how developers were able to assess your emotions and how they relate it with their products. Like, for example, just like what we do now with or what developers do now with presenting us with ads. So that is just one of the genius ways of doing that, or smart ways of doing that. So we have a diversity of techniques now to use to change what they do or think, like pop ads, warning messages, reminder prompts, personal messages, recommendations, or Amazon one-click are commonly referred to as nudging. So, example would be the Nintendo Pocket Pikachu. So, this particular design is effective. It uses interfaces that will parang give emotional attachment to a child and will encourage them to use it, and it also encourages or motivates the children kasi target nila children dito to be physically active on a regular basis. So, this is the Nintendo's Pocket Pikachu. So we also have another ways of getting information on for effective computing and emotional AI is to have tracking devices. Like mobile apps are designed to help people monitor and change their behavior, for instance, fitness, sleeping, or weight. So either we download it on our App Store or Google Play, or we already have a default application that tracks our activities like that. Ayan. It could also compare with online leaderboards and charts to show how they have done in relation to their peers and friends. Also, apps that encourage reflection, which in turn increase happiness and well-being and happiness. So, those are the examples of tracking devices on how they affect our emotional being. So, though it is presented with a lot of good effects, there are still negative effects when it comes to that. Like yung phishing scam. So, web used to deceive people into parting with personal details. And for example, nanalo ka ng ganito 1,000,000. It will give you some sense of, if you're not aware with such scams, it will give you some sense na, wow, parang ma-excite ka or hastily magre-react kayo, readily give your information, your PayPal information, eBay, Venmo, ayan, and you want the lottery emails, that something like that. So, yun yung mga ginagawang phishing scams ngayon by deceiving or using your emotions. It allows internet fraudsters to access their bank accounts and draw money from them. Many vulnerable people fall for it. Now, the art of deception is centuries old, but internet allows people ever more ingenious ways to trick people. So, in the early 2000s, it's easier to trick people with that. Pero, ngayon, hindi na masyado I don't know why it still exists, pero hindi na masyadong ganun kapanipaniwala yung mga ganung phishing scams na, nanalo ka ng 1 million, ganun, hindi ka naman talaga sumali. So, it's rare na, pero it still exists. Though people are more aware with phishing scams in the form of that. So, Anthromorphism. So, it refers to attributing human-like qualities to inanimate objects, for instance, cars or computers. A well-known phenomenon in advertising, dancing butter, drinks, breakfast cereals, ayan. Much exploited in human-computer interaction. It makes user experience enjoyable and motivating and make people feel at ease by reducing anxiety. Furnishing technologies with personalities can make them enjoyable to interact with. For example, so pag sinabi natin anthropomorphism, parang it gives human-like qualities or personas to non-human objects or non-human species. For example, animals, so nakapagsalita sila. Yun yung example ng anthropomorphic. So, another, example, which message do you prefer as a welcome message? Hello, Chris. Nice to see you again. Welcome back. Now, what we are doing last time. Oh yes, exercise 5. Let's start again. User 4 comments exercise 5. So, which one do you prefer when it comes to command? Another example is like this. Now, Chris, that's not right. You can do better than that. Try again. Incorrect, try again. So, which one is more frustrating and which one is lesser frustrating? Is there a difference as to what you prefer depending on the type of message and why? So, this will again be presented as a type of dilemma on the upcoming activities. So, evidence to support anthropomorphism. So, we are mostly familiar with anthropomorphisms. It is often used with applications, games, or even in movies, especially animated movies. Like if you're familiar with Bo Horse Jackman or SpongeBob SquarePants, ayan. It makes use of anthropomorphic characters. So, si SpongeBob is made up of sponge, obviously. Patrick is a starfish. So, they are just different, SpongeBob will be considered as a non-living thing, and the rest are just sea creatures. So those are given personas and attitudes as if they were a person. So that is an example of anthropomorphism. Now I will just skip some of the parts of it. You already know what it is. Ayan. So that's emotional AI. So we have studied class the emotional aspects, the 3 levels to keep in mind when designing a particular product, what is visceral, what is reflective, and what is behavioral. So we're going to have an activity and then you're going to assess anong part yung visceral, anong part yung behavioral, and bakit siya naging considered as behavioral. So anong component ng design na yon. And also, we're going to discuss how affective computing and emotional AI affects, and how developers or designers take advantage of studying emotions of different people to create or design interactive products.